Hello, this is the NRA man, and in front of me I have my Glock 23. Now, as promised, I said I would do a breakdown video and a reassembly video. I haven't been to the range in a little while, so my gun's not dirty, and I cleaned it the other day, so this will only be a breakdown and reassembly video. The cleaning video will come hopefully in a couple of days when I have some spare time to go to the range. So here we have the unloaded Glock 23. You can see the magazine is empty. I'll lock the slide back so you can see the daylight. Look, here's my face, or at least part of it. Woo, I see y'all. And again, I don't recommend doing this shit. Don't ever point a gun at yourself. This is only exaggeration for the video. There is nothing in the chamber. Now, Glocks, if you are new to firearms and do not know a whole lot about them, Glocks in general have an interesting little quirk of how you disassemble them. They have this little takedown lever, which all handguns have a takedown lever. But the difference between a Glock and most other handguns is the takedown lever is on one side. You access it and operate it from one side. On a Glock, you have one that you have to use. It extends out on both sides. If you only do it from one side, the gun's not going to come apart. It's only going to frustrate and piss you off. And it might damage your gun depending on how aggressive you are. So, with the Glock, you are going to take this hand right here, hook this thumb right here, grab hold like such, pull back ever so slightly just to get the weapon out of battery, and then right here on both sides there is a little pin that you can see right there in the center of the frame. You are going to grab that pin and pull down on both sides, and I cannot emphasize that enough, both sides. With that pin held down, you are going to slide the weapon forward, the slide forward, and now you can see the internals of the gun. This is the frame. The recoil spring and recoil guide, which just pop out just like that. It's a lot easier to remove than the Smith & Wesson. And the barrel and chamber assembly, which, boom, there you go. And all you're left with at the moment is the slide. Again, any place where you can see visible wear, signs of visible wear, get a small amount of lubrication. So here, 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 and obviously along the guide rails of the slide. You do not really have to lubricate the actual underside of the guide rails because they don't actually touch the frame. It's just right here inside of the little channels that you really have to worry about. Now, to reassemble this weapon, slide the barrel in like such. And it should lock into place. This little nipple, that little nipple, it slides in right there. Now, unlike on the Smith & Wesson, there is a little small shelf or groove or whatever you want to call it. It's a little semicircle right there. That is where the rear of the recoil spring and guide rod assembly actually sit. Pop it in, friction holds it in place. Now, for the quirks of having to hold down the little pins and whatnot during the disassembly portion, those do not apply on the reassembly portion. You line up the guide rails with on the frame with the slide. Bam. Quick functions check of the weapon. holding the trigger back while you rack the chain or rack the slide. Listen for the click. There's the click. And the weapon has been properly reassembled. For the bonus tip of this video, I'm going to throw out that a lot of semi-automatics, be they handguns or shotguns or rifles, come with some kind of an action lock, a little cable lock. Almost looks like what you would, secure your bike to a bike rack with. In fact, I've actually used mine for that purpose several times when I was a kid. I do not like action locks. If I feel the need to store my weapons, which is very infrequently, with some kind of locking device on them, I prefer an actual trigger lock like you would see at a gun store, because it renders the weapon unusable to anyone who does not have a key. A cable lock can be easily defeated with something as simple as wire cutters, and all you have to do is cut it, take it off, and now in this situation the bad guy that has accessed your collection has a perfectly operable firearm free and clear. With the trigger lock, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There are ways to get around a trigger lock, but it's not as easy, it's not as quick. And the key component that makes this and any other semi-automatic work and do that is a spring. Now the spring is made of metal. I'm not going to bore you with the metallurgical properties of it, but essentially when you leave a spring in a compressed state for too long, it sets. Now, as I stated, very seldom do I store my firearms long term, especially my handguns. They tend to get rotated out rather frequently because of the fact that I carry everywhere that I legally can. So my weapons get rotated out on a fairly, they might spend maybe a week at a time in the safe, a piece. So that's not really enough time to cause the action spring to set, but it still doesn't take away the point that leaving the slide or bolt or what have you locked back in a compressed state for an extended period of time is not good for that spring. Just like magazine springs will set. If you let this thing sit in the safe for too long with the slide locked back, the action spring will set. And you do not want that action spring to fail you when you need it the most. And more than likely you're going to find out about it well before your life depends on it. But it's still a terrible feeling. So if your circumstances dictate the use of some kind of a locking device to keep your firearms safe but accessible, such as if you have small children like I do, trigger locks, or some kind of safe. But definitely if you got to store it with a lock on it, I would highly recommend against cable locks because they're just too damn easy to defeat. And if you leave the weapon stored for too long, it can cause the spring to set. So it's my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. I thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it educational and entertaining. And if you haven't done so already, please join the NRA today. United we stand, divided we fall.